Hey everyone, Miss Janine here. Want to do a real quick going over chapters 4 and 5 that you will be reading for this upcoming week. So I just want to hit some highlights that I want you to be sure you know. Because again, I've told you this book has different twists for some of the words. So we're going to be hitting a couple words that were already discussed in chapter 8, but they're also in chapter 4. So let's look at chapter 4, page 72, 73. It starts with variables. A variable is any event, situation, behavior, or individual characteristic that varies. Faces you make, we all could smile, and we could all have a very different meaning behind that smile. We have construct validity, concerns whether our methods of studying variables are accurate. If we're just eyeballing and saying they're happy, they're happy, they're happy, they're happy, is that an accurate study of the smile? Probably not. Internal validity refers to the accuracy of conclusions about cause and effect. She's smiling because she got an A. She's smiling because she really wants to tell me to go fly a kite, but she can't because she's the student. So she's just smiling with the fake smile. Judging. What is the true meaning behind whatever it is you're studying? External validity concerns whether we can generalize the findings of a study to other populations and settings. We are looking at smiling students in their seats after they've been handed back their midterm exam. Are they all straight A's and that's why they're smiling? Or are they just doing the polite? How can we take that one classroom of smiling faces and turn it into the probability of applying it to others? We would have to look closely at maybe the twinkle in the eye is the ones who really got the straight A, 100. The ones who look like they want to cry, but they got the fake smile on their face, are the ones that, and work out a percentage and some way. So construct internal and external validity. Hopefully I went through that so you can understand it. Over on 74, 75, they talk about operational definition of variables, and they show on 75 the little smiley faces. And that's how you could use something if you were studying children who don't read yet. Maybe show the faces. And they go into more detail on construct there. And I really would like you, again, you can read all of this. Jump over. Again, I'm just hitting the highlights. I'm not going to bore you by reading you the book. Look over at on page 84. Independent variable and dependent variable. Look in the section called experimental method at the bottom of 84. Third line. The manipulated variable is called the independent variable, and the variable that is measured is the dependent variable. Put a star by that because it will probably be a test question, and you want to be able to show me that that's where you're getting the definition. Manipulated variable is the independent, and the variable that is measured is the dependent. So we're measuring smiles. The variable being measured, the dependent variable is the smile. The manipulated variable is kind of why, the meaning, straight A, something of that nature. Also jump up to confounding variable. We already had this over in, I think it was chapter 8, but I want to make sure you see the definition here because it's a little bit different, so it might be easier for you to grasp here. We know that, and this is in the third paragraph, you'll see it in bold, confounding variable. We actually know that an uncontrolled third variable is operating. We call that third variable a confounding variable. If two variables are confounded, they are intertwined, so you cannot determine which of the variables is operating in a given situation. If income is confounded with exercise, income level would be an alternative explanation when you study exercise. So again, we're studying the smiling faces of the students Confounding variable could be that they received happy news prior to coming into the classroom, so getting an F on the test really isn't even impacting them. And of course, I'm not talking about any of you because none of you failed. I'm just trying to give you an example. There's some hidden meaning behind the smile that we don't know. That's the confounding variable. It's not related to getting the test back, and maybe they're thinking about the weekend, thinking about, I can't wait for this class to be over so I don't have to listen to this instructor drone on. And that's making them smile. Those would be the confounding variables. So I hope that explains it. And what you kind of get, don't feel like you're going to absorb all of this in one setting and be able to go out into the world and start, that is that, and this is that, and da-da-da, and naming all of these. Don't get that wrapped up. It has taken me even teaching this course, and I've had research every level, to be able to even in my mind say, ooh, that's a confounding variable. Because it's not something we're used to doing. It's not something we use every day. It's not part of our everyday language. And unless you're going to be becoming a research psychologist, it probably won't be. But you do need to know and understand and get a good grasp. So I hope that's helping. Now, again, I'm not going to go through the whole book. I want you to continue to read. Look at the illustrative article. Look at the questions in the back. Just take a stab. And let's go on to chapter 5. It's much more fun. Much more fun. We're talking about reliability. Reliability. And you're probably getting ready to start doing your surveys if you have not already, and that's okay. Or again, if you're just using a made up one, a fake one, that's fine too. I don't want to put pressure on you because this is a short course, but be familiar with what you're reading and learning. So let's jump to page 100. And I'm trying not to keep these videos too long because I know time is money for everybody. And I mean, your time is valuable. You've got the projects, you've got the homework, you've got a life, you've got family. And if you're in Jacksonville, there's lots going on this morning. It's Saturday here. So you want to enjoy your weekend. So I just want to hit again some key points that I have highlighted in my book that if you were in my class and we were actually going over this, you'd be doing it. So page 100, reliability, refers to the consistency or stability of a measure of behavior. Underline that. And then jump down to the next paragraph, third line from the bottom of that paragraph. Put simply, a reliable measure does not fluctuate from one reading to the next. If the measure does fluctuate, there is an error in the measurement device. Well, my example on this is Miss Savannah, my dog, my blue pit bull, who is sitting over here ignoring me right now. She has what we'll call it the flow meter. She knows exactly at what time of day we should be having some eggs and clementines for breakfast, when we should be having lunch, and when we should have dinner. And if I'm baking, she knows as something's in the oven, she has already started drooling. When the eggs are boiling for hard-boiled eggs, the flow meter is going. So we could set our clocks pretty much to the time of day that Miss Savannah thinks I should be eating, and that's why I put on weight, because she begs, or what we should be eating. If she's not salivating when I'm cooking, her flow meter is broke. It's kind of how they're looking at it. It's consistent. It's consistent no matter what I'm cooking, she is drooling. If she's not, it's broke. True score and measure of error. Any measure that you make can be thought of as comprising two components, a true score, which is the real score on the variable, and a measurement error. An unreliable measure of intelligence contains considerable measurement error and does not provide an accurate indication of an individual's true intelligence. There's, again, too many of those confounding variables. So be familiar with those. Over on 101, first full paragraph, when conducting research, you can measure each person only once. Survey, one time. You cannot give the measure 50 or 100 times to discover a true score, because people then know what the answers are, and it's going to change how they answer. If you ask me the first time, 9 times 7 is what? And I give you an answer, and then you ask me again, and I've had time to pull out my calculator or to think about, did I give the right answer or the wrong answer? You don't do that. Excuse me. And you see that with MMBI and some of those people personality tests. People want to keep taking them over and over till they get the right combination that they want to reflect who they are. So again, when conducting research, you measure each person only once. You cannot give the measure 50 or 100 times. Second paragraph below that, or the next paragraph below that, an unreliable measure of length would be useless in building a table. An unreliable measure of a variable such as intelligence is equally useless in studying that variable. Next line down. So go ahead and just underline these because I do think they jump out at you and they may be important when you're doing the test, the final exam. Reliability is most likely to be achieved when researchers use careful measurement procedures. Again, we can't be sloppy. We need to know what we're measuring, how precise it needs to be. Is it attitude? Is it, I go back to the premarital sex from the Christian youth group. Really? They all know your mother. How accurate is their answers? How reliable? In some research areas, this might involve careful training observers to record behavior. Again, the smile thing in the classroom. Which is a true smile? What's their normal true smile? Because most of us have more than one smile. So read that one, and it may mean paying close attention to the way questions are phrased or the way recording electrodes are placed on the body. So put a star by that, because again, I want you to remember to pay attention. And when you're reading research, somebody did a study, pay attention to, did they really do that right? How did they really measure? Well, what about? And this will start to come natural. Again, it's that critical thinking, synthesizing what you're learning and questioning. You don't have to believe everything you read. Only my grandma does that. Look over on 102, person, product, moment, correlation, coefficient. How about that for a mouthful? All right, where to begin? About 2, 4, 5 lines. Recall from chapter 4 that a correlation coefficient is a number that tells us how strongly two variables are related to each other. There are several ways of calculating correlation coefficients. The most common correlation coefficient when discussing reliability is the person, product, moment correlation coefficient. Put a star by that. When the correlation coefficient is positive, a plus sign, there's a positive linear relationship. High scores on one variable are associated. A negative linear relationship, The person coefficient will be discussed in chapter 12. Well, to assess the reliability of a measure, we'll need to obtain at least 2 scores on the measure from an individual. If the measure is reliable, the 2 scores should be familiar. A person correlation coefficient that relates the 2 scores should be highly correlated. I'm sorry, this keeps popping up. When you read about reliability, the correlation will usually be called a reliability coefficient. Put a star by that. Make sure you kind of read it. Retest reliability there on page 102. Retest reliability is assessed by measuring the same individual at 2 points in time. PFT, twice a year for all you veterans. Or for all you students, midterm and final exam. That's how I think of that, the retest. You can come up with your own, and I welcome a discussion and some new examples to add. That's what I have in my book. Alternate forms reliability. Given that retest requires administering the same test twice, the correlation might be artificially high because the individuals remember how they responded the first time. Alternate forms reliability is sometimes used to avoid this problem. So if I gave a multiple choice the first time. The second time I could give something different. Your final's almost exactly like the midterm. All right, over on 103. Internal consistency reliability. The assessment of reliability using responses that at only one point in time. Because all items measure the same variable, they should yield similar, consistent results. They talk about split half reliability. I am not going to read that. Spearman-Brown split half reliability coefficient. Just underline it so for the final you can come back, reread it, refresh your mind. You will need some of this for the question. I did use for this week's question for you all, you know what I'm talking about, the article question in the back of the book is actually the question. So you do need to know this. You need to read it, be familiar. And again, don't get wrapped up thinking, oh my God, I'll never remember this. No one expects you to. No one, I don't anyway. I don't expect you to memorize and data dump. I would rather you understand and be able to apply it to the articles you're reading and that type of thing, and to your research with the aid of the book. And then slowly, as time you begin, certain ones stand out and you're able to gradually understand them. That's why we call this authentic assessments. Authentic assessments. When you see me using the articles in the classroom, that's authentic assessment, because I'm asking you to synthesize, apply critical thinking, answer questions. That's what's happening in the back of the book. Instead of memorizing, I am not a big memorized data dump, because that's how I did my undergrad, and what a waste of money. What a waste of money. So let's look at 104. I want you to look at item total correlation. I'm keeping an eye on the clock, and this is taking longer than you want to listen to me. Inter-rater reliability, sorry. Look at figure 5.2, kind of gives you a quick breakdown of test, retest, internal consistency, reliability, inter-rater reliability. Look at those. Over on 105, reliability and accuracy of measures. Just underline that second line. Reliability is not the only characteristic of a measure or the only thing that researchers worry about. Reliability is not the only characteristic of a measure or the only thing that researchers worry about. Got it? Jump down to construct validity. Construct validity concerns whether a method of studying variables are accurate. That is, it refers to the adequacy of the operational definition of the variables. Put a star by that, because again, throughout this book, depending on which chapter you're in, the variations vary, and sometimes we all interpret a different way. I told you there was one part in here where I think it's 3 different ways depending on which page. That's why I always ask you to provide me the page number for your midterm and your final, so I know where you're coming from with your view of how you interpreted the thing. Table 5.1 on 106, that's a great one. And honestly, this book is very basic on this topic. I do recommend you keep it as you move on to graduate work, because I do like it. As much as I find it hard to teach out of, it's not something I feel comfortable with all the time. I think it's good. Keep it. Over on 107, face validity, content validity. Look at both of those. And then the last paragraph on 107, I want you to really look at this. Both face validity and content validity focus on assessing whether the content of the measure reflects the meaning of the construct being measured. Underline that. Then jump down 2 more lines. In validity research, the behavior is termed a criterion. Put a star by that. Behavior is termed a criterion. Over on 108, predictive validity, concurrent validity, convergent validity. I want you to, and then discriminant validity. Be familiar with all those. I would put stars by them. Reactivity of measure. Potential problem, this is on 109. When measuring behavior's reactivity. A measure is said to be reactive if awareness of a measure changes an individual's behavior. Ooh, we've kind of learned about that in psychology during our different observation methods, whether it's naturalistic and they see you. So look at that, and then in that first paragraph, 3 lines, measures of behavior vary in terms of their potential reactivity. So again, if I'm handing out tests to a seated class and everybody's got the fake smile, I'm though really looking at to see how they're reacting to when they see the test score. Does the smile change from a, oh, I love you, to, oh, I hate you. Second paragraph on 109 in that reactivity of measure, non-reactive or unobtrusive. Put an underline there, and I just want you to read it. Now, again, sorry, getting a lot longer than I want. Jump over 110, variables and measurement scales. Nominal scales, ordinal scales. Take a look at that. Table 5.2 is, again, a fabulous way to, we could read all day long, and you could probably listen to me drone all day long or watch YouTube videos on this. Whatever is your preferred method of learning, find it, use it. I just think these tables where they bring them all together and show almost like a comparison, those help my eyes. They help me learn because I'm kind of like, okay, it takes out all the cluttered words and just gives it to you nice and simple. So take a look at that. Over on 112, getting tongue-tied here, ratio scales do have an absolute 0 point that indicates the absence of the variable being measured. And that is it. That is chapter 5. You will notice your discussion question for the week is the article. I did upload it to the forum. It is also over in the shared files or where I have all the other stuff. If it doesn't open, let me know. The questions are right there out of the book, except for number 2. I did not include number 2. Take a stab at them. Just get in there, take a stab at them. And have an amazing week. We are, really coming to an end. We got this week, we got next week, and then we're on week 8. So if you've got problems, you want me to look at your research, maybe I'll do that as a second, have you all upload your research. Give me an idea if you want to do it or not. We'll talk about maybe Tuesday. Upload your research for each other to critique, again, just for an overview of the APA. Class on Tuesday, we're going to be looking at some crazy experiments and why we don't do them. We're going to be having a little fun with that. Paul, I wish you could join us. I wish the projector doesn't even work in the classroom. I don't know, maybe we can do a Skype or something, I'll huddle around my laptop or somebody's laptop. Love for you to be able to join us once or twice. The final, again, is basically the same format, just more questions than the midterm. So if you didn't understand that and I haven't explained it well enough, that's what you will have to anticipate, because I know finals week can get a little hairy. I'm all about authentic assessments. I just don't see memorizing and data dumping doing much good for anybody. I think this really, with an article, and I know some of you didn't like the article, it'll be a different article. And as I'm talking out loud, watching this clock, and I need to shut up and end this, I am thinking I might give you the article a day or two ahead of the actual actual final, so you can have time to really read it and digest it. That's all I got for now. Again, you can text. I won't be available on Sunday. I'm going to post this, go ahead, today, Saturday, just so you have it and can see. Everyone, again, have an amazing weekend. Make time for self-care. I know a lot of you got a lot going on. There's a lot going on in Jacksonville this weekend. We got Art Block up until, I think, 4 o'clock today. Just lots going on. Make sure, as much as, I support all of you going to school, but make sure you are making time for your families. Your family is your big support network, and you need to, ask for their support and their respect while you're doing your homework, but also acknowledge their support and respect and spend some quality time with them. So have an amazing weekend, and I will see most of you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.